All right, all right. Welcome to the Strong Side Podcast. My name's Mitchell Black. I'm your host, and you're in for a very special treat today. Today is episode 100 of the Strong Side Podcast. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, triple digit club. We have Mr. Matt Brown here today. He's becoming a regular on the Strong Side Podcast. And we have special guest, Coach Chris Kievit here today. And we're just going to chat. We're going to throw down. And we're going to have a really great time on episode 100.
Absolutely. You know, we were talking about last time when you and I were chatting. And since then, you and I have talked a little bit about like, do we format this? Should we come in with like a script? And I was like, just to keep the tone, like, we'll just get it out of the way. I said, fuck no. Right? Okay.
I got a whole bunch of
Okay.
laughing comments about that.
So, but no, I think it's nice to keep it lighthearted and for us to just kind of converse. I mean, if a lot of people don't know behind the scenes, Mitchell and I have a lot of great just kind of bullshitting around conversations. And I've come to actually have the same with Chris, which is why I couldn't wait to have him come on here. It was exciting. And he also is another New Jersey brethren of mine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You're from New Jersey?
Yeah, I was born in New York City.
When did that happen?
Well, 49 years ago, actually 50 years ago, my mom and dad met and they came together.
Oh, that's cool.
9 months later.
I didn't know you're from Jersey. All right.
Yeah, but if I'm not mistaken, you're from South Jersey.
I am.
There's a big difference.
There is. I know. There is a very big difference.
There's a tremendous difference. And from what I understand too, I think we've actually had this conversation. There's a big difference in how you order your breakfast sandwiches too.
Yes.
You say pork roll. I say Taylor ham.
Taylor ham is a northern New Jersey thing.
Is a northern. It's yes. Well, the background behind it is this. If this is how we're going to start our 100th episode, it's I'm with it. So basically, I guess the best way to describe it is it's like a cured ham. It's tailored.
Yeah. And you're going to know more than I will. Now, keep in mind, I left out of Jersey when I was young.
Right. So, but anyway, I guess there's this major discrepancy within, the New Jersey culture, if you will.
Yes.
Where it gets to like an exit on the Parkway, and the Parkway being the main road that basically connects North Jersey to South Jersey, the shore, and other points. But it gets to like an exit where it's like below this exit calls it pork roll, and then above this exit calls it Taylor ham when you're ordering. So there's this constant debate. I would say rival Republican Democrat on who orders what sandwich. And quite frankly, I have friends all over the map, and as you mentioned, from New Jersey and born and raised, where it's like it's actually one of the first questions I ask people when I'm getting to know them.
Really?
Do you say pork roll or do you say Taylor ham?
Just size them up.
I have to. I feel like I have to go, a couple layers deep and see, where their headspace is at.
It's funny when you and I first met and I found out you were from Jersey. I don't know if you remember, that was like the first thing I identified that I was South Jersey.
Yes.
So I'm just outside of Philly is where I grew up. And you're more closer to
New York.
New York.
And this is a sandwich?
It's a breakfast sandwich. So very commonly, it's one of those greasy, very similar to like a bacon, egg, and cheese or a sausage, egg, and cheese. It's just what we have in New Jersey is Taylor ham or pork roll, however you want to describe it. And it's kind of like a weekend thing, a Saturday thing where, you wake up, you go get a Taylor ham, egg, and cheese. And now it's even taken one step further to where like they abbreviate where it's like TEC, and people know exactly what you're talking about. So it's kind of like a national phenomenon. So, but when you grow up, it's kind of like embedded in the culture of New Jersey. So when we started talking about it, I even think I asked you, I was like, pork roll or Taylor ham?
And if you did ask me, I probably went over my head.
Probably did.
Here, I'll tell you this little thing about, just real quick. This isn't about me. It's about Chris, but real quick, real side story. Also, if you're wondering why I'm death gripping this mic,
he's going to break out in solo.
I dropped it like an hour ago.
Broke it. And this is hard for me because if you know me, I like to talk with my hands, but I have to sit here and hold this mic.
If you need assistance, I can get
It'll
it.
train your biceps.
But my My grandfather is from Georgia, and so they moved up to New Jersey, which is how I ended up there, right?
Mhm.
So our Sunday morning breakfast is actually when we go over to my grandparents. It was a very Southern traditional buttermilk biscuit, scrambled eggs, the bacon,
Can't beat that.
right? So if that explains also too, like I grew up probably kind of in grits.
Yes.
I
Are
mean,
you sure you grew up in Jersey? Because I'm from Georgia, and that's what we had. Cornbread dipped in milk.
Yes.
We had
yes.
grits. I don't like grits, but grits, eggs, hash browns. You know, this is what you ate: sausage and bacon.
But that was what my grandfather, he's from Georgia.
Oh, all
And
right.
that's what he's the one who cooked it all.
You ever had biscuits and gravy?
Yes.
Love
all of
biscuits
it.
and gravy.
So when I moved down south, I felt like I already had a little bit of a leg up on the
That is fair. But I feel like breakfast, I mean, is super, super important, especially when, you're getting the day started off correctly. And what better way than a big old fat, greasy sandwich?
Yes.
Gotta get fired up.
Exactly.
Yeah, a big fat greasy sandwich.
I used to go to Martin's and eat biscuits and gravy.
Yeah.
And it would be like on the way to like high school. And I couldn't figure out why I'd need a nap at like first period. I'm just, ugh.
I could pretty much tell you why you needed a nap. All the cholesterol.
Yeah. Oh man, that was a good kickoff.
But let's talk about that now. I mean, we know the Jersey side.
Yep.
So let's talk about what brought you to Georgia.
Sure. So, I guess I'll start before COVID.
Isn't that weird that like I just find it, it's like World War II
Right.
time frame. You get what
I
I'm
guess
saying?
it's kind of like an imprint in time now, where you can refer to either pre or post COVID. But I think it also gives people a good idea of kind of where just our headspace was. So, I started, I guess I'll go way back and kind of come around circle. I started dating my wife in 2017. And, I just kind of knew right then, as most marriages go, that's who I was gonna end up with. And we were kind of torn because my sister actually moved down here first. She got a fellowship out of Emory, out of I forget what exact unit it was, but she just graduated PA school from Hofstra, and she moved down. And there had been Christmases that she would, basically make the homage back and say, "Listen, y'all should really think about moving south. It's awesome." And you know what, playing college baseball, which I'm sure we'll get into, I had been down south a number of times. I had been within Southern culture a number of times, and quite frankly, I think my friends started to look at me weird because I had such a fascination and a love for country music. So I wasn't necessarily.
You still do.
I still do. And I have played it in clubs.
I know, and I hate it.
It's okay. I appreciate your honesty. It hurts, but I appreciate your honesty. So I guess I wasn't immune to the culture. So the idea was always in the back of my mind. And, when my wife started off, as far as, our marriage goes, we were, kind of toying with the idea. Do we stay north? Do we go south? In the meantime, my parents had moved south. And that was right before COVID hit. That was 2019. And quite frankly, I think it was for a better lifestyle. They were supposed to downsize, but they actually upsized to a bigger house, but a little less land to take care of, but better taxes, better prices, all the things that you would want with Southern living. So boom, COVID hits. We actually end up becoming pregnant with our first, and we had Ada, my first daughter. And we're kind of like in the throes of COVID, and as we know, with COVID, we had a ton of time on our hands. We were just basically sitting at home. So I remember it, kind of like it was yesterday. We were just talking about where we wanted to live, and we started the process of looking at houses and all that good stuff. And I remember looking at this one house in New Jersey, and it was within our price budget, but the taxes were just astronomical.
Right.
And the schools didn't match up. And now, becoming a new father, I'm thinking more about not myself, but my daughter, her future education. And I said to my wife, I said, I'm not willing to sacrifice the education system because it's a lower tax bracket. And that kind of kicked off the things of, well, let's move south. in that same year, we came down for Christmas, and my aunt had basically, investment property. And she said, listen, I'm looking to sell it. You guys are more than welcome to, go take a look at it. And if it's something that you like, we can talk further. Not anything more than that, nothing more superficial than that. And as the story goes, I mean, as basically at that point, it's really not your decision. It's your wife's decision where you live, and where you lay your head. I was just more looking for a bed. I'm the type of guy where it's, as long as it's in a nice neighborhood, I feel comfortable with it. It doesn't matter the floor layout, which bedroom is where, it doesn't matter to me. So my wife walks in and she goes, "Oh my God, yes." And I'm like, I guess we're gonna,
Like in the foyer.
Yeah.
Like, I love it.
well, actually, believe it or not, it was through FaceTime. I was FaceTiming her that video,
And it was that easy.
and it was that easy.
I gotta be honest with you, that I'm envious.
My wife, and this is one of the many redeeming qualities. Once she has her mind made up, she's got her mind made up.
Yeah,
And I
it's
think
just a ping pong.
I think that's how we got married too.
I'll give you.
She had her
I'll
mind
give you-
made
I'll
up
give you-
on your boy here.
I'll get. Well, he's a catch. I'll give you a contrast on that. Because you briefly, I think, met my wife at the Friendsgiving.
Yes.
You know my wife.
A little bit.
And yeah, when we decided that we wanted to stay here in
Mhm.
Woodstock, which she told me if we moved anymore, I was going by myself. So I guess that means we're staying here.
Correct.
So fine, we'll buy a house. I gave her a budget, and I knew to stay out of her way. You go find the house.
Correct.
I
Which is
looked-
more often than not, stay out of their way.
Looked at like 12 freaking houses over the course of like 2 months.
Oh yeah, I forgot you moved.
Yeah.
Like I remember that whole process now. Yeah.
So she took me one weekend. She had more houses lined up, and I'm like, I need you to pick a house. Like, why are like
I just need somebody to live.
what are you doing? Right. So we're driving
to
around.
call home.
We go to the house we're in now, and it's funny. I think the things that like us as husbands might look at versus what the wife looks at.
Yeah.
Like she's nixing houses because it doesn't have a certain shape bathtub in the master.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who fucking cares?
You're like, it's got a driveway and we're good.
It had 2 brand new AC units put in,
Practical.
fully furnished basement. I was like, all I could see was resale.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was like, oh, you're not gonna have to pay for AC units.
Or just less problems down the road.
Right.
Mhm.
So I went to the realtor. His name was Tony. And I said, Tony, I'm gonna let you know something here, man, on how to sell this thing. Okay. You're doing a good job, but here's a little pro tip. Stop agreeing with everything my wife says. Okay. All right. You're gonna need to push back a little bit, or she will do this on and on and on, and we'll never buy the
Correct.
house.
Correct.
So he finally did, which allowed me to then interject and say, this is the house. She's like, well, I don't know. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna buy this house.
Mm.
I-
So it sounded like you were just kind of like that final vote that needed that final little.
Because I was tired of it, and I'm envious of the fact that you did this on FaceTime. She walked in and like, this is the one.
Well, I think to that point we had seen a fair amount of houses up north, and I think now that I think about it, I think she even said yes before we even explored price, which was scary at the moment because we were
Okay, that's scary.
we didn't know what we were getting ourselves into.
That's scary. Yeah.
Obviously, we thought maybe we'll get a family discount, which, is neither here nor there. But again, I think once she's got her mind made up, and I think we had come to this decision that, no matter what, we were probably more than likely going to be moving south.
Yeah.
And to date, I would say it's probably the best decision we've made as a family, from everything from financial to lifestyle. I mean, I enjoy our back patio, and that's one of the things that I really wanted to kind of make our focus of our house is, that's kind of our congregating area, if you will. And you can literally sit in our back patio for 10 months out of the year. You don't get that in northern New Jersey, which is basically from the months of, we'll say maybe late October to mid-February, maybe if you're lucky.
Correct.
You're not getting outside.
No.
And what I enjoy most is now having a family and being able to see my daughters run around said backyard and just, play outside, because a part of that's how I grew up. I didn't grow up in the social media age, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I remember, growing up as a kid, I mean, I was, playing all types of sports, but when I wasn't playing, I was still just hanging out at the little league field. We were playing running bases. We were playing wall ball. We were playing.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, dude, lives were won and lost
They
at wall ball.
ban that. You can't do that anymore.
Well, that's a
Wall ball
I
was.
don't even know what to say. That was like
That
the
was
game.
rough.
They banned it.
Did you guys play with a tennis ball? We played with like a little blue ball.
Okay,
That you basically you could take somebody's soul.
you're talking
with
about
that ball.
the racquetball,
Yeah.
Yes.
which yes, you could peg somebody really hard with. So when we played, it was whatever you had. We've played with a
Fair.
baseball.
I haven't played with a baseball.
I
pretty
remember
gnarly.
that. And the person running would like cover their
Exactly. You didn't know which body part to cover.
Yeah.
But I think there was something where you literally had to stand on the wall, basically
Yeah.
ass out. What was the
that was like a
penalty?
penalty.
What was the penalty for that?
I don't remember, but I do remember what you're talking about.
I think it was
and take it.
whatever. I don't remember why you got the penalty, but whatever it was, is like they got like 3 free shots. Like you had
Something
to stand
like
there.
that. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it was like oh, I know what it was. If you hit the ball and somebody caught it and they threw it against the wall and you didn't make it to touch the wall first, I think that you were like,
That was the penalty.
Yeah.
out. And you had to go against. But going back to it, I remember we would stay down there for hours and just, I grew up that way. My wife grew up that way, and we wanted that for our girls.
You probably
We
rode
wanted
your bike there, didn't you?
all the time.
Yep.
And we didn't have cell phones. You want to know what was cool? We had, you knew where your boys were at, because there's usually a pile of bikes
Pile
somewhere.
of bike.
Yeah.
Yes.
And pile of bikes, and we grew up on drinking out of the hose.
And
Yeah,
then,
dude.
And there was only so many places that you would be.
So many. I mean,
And grow the hose.
the hose water was cool.
Love them hose.
Love those hose waters. Now,
Sorry.
I just got that. Nice. Awesome.
What are you guys talking about?
Hey, but literally there was a pile of bikes, but I knew I wanted that for my daughters. And it was more, I just feel like I didn't have to sell my wife. She was on board, which is, the great thing about a common denominator with your marriage is, you just kind of come to an agreement. And also too, we were in an age and a time where we didn't know how long we were going to be in COVID for. So, with all this uncertainty, we were like, well, and we got married a little bit later too. So I was like, well, I feel like we're kind of at a turning point in our marriage where we have to kind of make some hard, choices.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very hard because we had a tremendous friend group up there where, we were pretty much spending time with groups of friends every weekend. Because keep in mind, my parents were down here already, so we would see them around holidays, sporadic weekends, and all that.
Yeah.
But our friends were our family up there. So having to go through that, 10, 15 times over, telling them, hey, we're leaving the state. That was tough.
Did it get harder? I don't know if easier is the right word, but like you mentioned 15 hard conversations. By the time you got like to the 5th or 6th one, was it harder that you had to keep breaking hearts, or were you like, look, we're out?
We had the script down. I think where we didn't do ourselves any favor is the closer we were to the individuals, the longer we waited to say something, which did in turn make it harder. But
did they believe you though at first? Or was it like, no.
No, there was never any doubt in that regard. There was always like, a lot of support. Obviously they're going to miss us, but now fast forward where, what's really cool is all the people that we've kind of, I guess, in a way separated from.
Yeah.
They've all visited us down here.
You have a lot of people visit.
I was about to ask that.
Dude, they've all visited us down here.
I
We
mean,
couldn't
plus
be more
the
grateful.
social media age, it's so easy to connect with everybody.
Yeah. And we do our very, very best to FaceTime and catch up and make sure we stay present in each other's life. And I think that's super important. And I think that's something that, goes beyond friendship, that goes, if you're really, in tuned with coworkers, friends, whatever. I think it's super important for people to stay present in people's lives. And that'll be different from friendship to friendship. And I totally understand that. I have some friends where, we won't speak for 6 months, but we'll pick up right where we left off. And then I have some friends where we basically talk every day and, we lean on each other every day, which I think is super important. So you have, kind of these two subsets of friends where, they're really meaningful to you, but they're just different people.
Yes.
So I think that was huge. And I think, coming down to a familiar area, like we had been here before. We knew downtown. We knew we loved downtown. We had been to a couple shows at Mad Life, and we already knew that Rootstock was going to be our date night spot. That was fun. And, we just started to settle in, and keep in mind also too, we were moving from an apartment, so we didn't have but much. So we were just kind of really in a way, just kicking off our lives.
So how long have you been in this house now?
It'll be 3 years in May.
Tell me the truth. So because you brought this up, you're moving from an apartment, right? Moving to the house. Have you filled up the house yet?
We have.
Yeah, it's amazing, right?
We are actually, and that was one of the things, like, when it comes to, again, living, like I said, I don't need much, but I need kind of like comfort and like completeness, if you will.
Yeah.
And I would venture to say my wife does too. She actually bought a dining room table from New Jersey that was delivered. And I'll tell you a funny story too in a second. So yes, we had to answer your question directly. We have completed through, by the way, Facebook Marketplace is awesome to pick up furniture.
Yeah, dude.
Especially if you're not like committal to something.
Mm-hmm.
The couple chairs in my whiskey room have been, basically Facebook Marketplace, and I couldn't be happier with them.
And your whiskey room, I mean, I've only seen it on Zoom.
Okay,
this is dope.
What's a whiskey room? You have a whiskey room?
So I'll get.
He's got like a fan thing, and
So I mean, for I guess those out there, I mean, it's no secret I'm big into bourbon. I really like, bourbon and steak. I'm a guy's guy when it comes to that type of stuff. So, when we were kind of planning this, again, we saw the house, we saw the layout of the house, and I had always envisioned, and a couple of houses that we saw down here in Georgia, they had beautiful basements and like little offset rooms, to for like a man cave.
Yeah.
And it was something that I always loved the idea of. I didn't know if it was going to come to fruition, but when we officially bought the house, I said, honey, would you be okay if I made one of the bedrooms the whiskey room? And she's like, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it might change considering how many kids we have, but
right.
So and this leads me into my story here. We kind of configured the house to our liking on where things were going to go. We knew all the bedrooms were going to be upstairs.
Yeah.
Our fourth bedroom is actually on the main floor. So I said, well, I'll just take this back corner. It'll be my space and, a place to escape, especially with 3 girls at home. I need somewhere to kind of hide, if you will. Or, question my parenting, which happens quite often, to be honest with you. So when we bought the house, again, we're trying to navigate from New Jersey up here. So we knew we wanted to do a little touches. We knew paint and flooring was it. So, and you can actually do this. I actually ordered all of our floors that were put in our house from Home Depot, and they were delivered. The only problem is they were delivered before we closed on the house and before we were even down here. So I have 3 pallets of flooring sitting in my now driveway. And I remember my dad calling me. He's like, dude, we got a big problem. And I'm like, what's up, Pop? And I'm in the middle of work. He's like, you have all of your flooring sitting in the driveway. And I'm like, huh? And he's like, yeah, they delivered it today. And I was like, ah.
And I'm assuming like, it can't rain or.
It can't rain. And keep in mind, this is a pallet of flooring. It's not like you're just going to pick the pallet up and put it in the driveway.
Right.
Didn't bring my forklift.
I didn't bring my forklift. So, one of my good buddies who's, a cousin through marriage, he actually works in logistics, and it's a funny story. I called him up and I'm like, Dusty, do you have, a pallet jack? He goes, wow, what an odd question to ask.
Yeah.
But he goes, yeah, buddy, I got your back. I'm going to throw it in the back of the truck and we'll get your floors in there. Lickety split. So I'm like, so, it kind of, I guess in a way was just meant to be, but,
it's good to know people.
That was a lucky one.
I don't know anybody with a pallet jack.
That was a real lucky.
If I did know somebody with a pallet jack, their name would be Dusty.
Yeah,
I'm
for
calling
real. That
Dusty.
is, yeah. That definitely is a
That's
name.
my guy right there. He was one of the guys that, he's my cousin's husband, and we've hit it off. So, again, we configured the house. We got the flooring in, we got everything done, we've got it painted, and we, started to make it a home. And we started to, really, and I think what really kind of cemented us down here and making sure that we made the right choices. We had my daughter's first birthday in the house. And that was beautiful. We had, we didn't have much. It wasn't complete at that point. I can tell you that much.
Right.
We were sitting on some fold out chairs, but it was a home, and it was something like a goal of mine. Like, I had my parents, I had my wife, I had my sister, a couple of my buddies that were down here already come over my house. And just like that term of like, this is mine.
Yeah.
This is my house. And I think that was like kind of like it. And I was like, well, this is day one, and we're gonna start something amazing.
So this is the first house.
Yeah, this is our first house.
It's a nice first house.
Yeah, we certainly worked hard for it, for sure.
My first house was a she shed.
Well, I feel like sometimes though, that's, you got to know where you come from to know where you're going.
I agree. I agree.
I think we were looking at some of these houses, and we were just kind of getting enamored with, some of the, I guess the, amenities of the house, where it was like, wine cellars and stuff like that. And I'm like, honey, I don't know if this is us. This is a little bit out of our budget. And we just, as they say, everything happens.
Wine cellar, no. Like, that's kind of crazy.
What's up?
Wine cellar, no. That's kind of crazy. Like,
Kind of a little crazy.
Whiskey room is a must.
Whiskey room's a must. But I will say this. It's
fully different.
It's a self-built whiskey room. The only thing I didn't build in there was paint. I didn't paint. I'm not a painter. I could barely draw a circle.
Fair enough.
I mean, I have, stickers on our board because I can't draw.
He's got like leather chairs. He's got like rows of like collectible whiskey type stuff.
Just over the years and stuff.
Cigar
We don't
fan.
live far from each other.
Come on over.
Okay, there it is.
And this was something that I told myself, and I told my wife, I live in an open door policy, and my door is always open to those that I care about.
Chris is going to come home one day and I get my feet propped up.
Right.
This is fantastic.
There's going to be empty bottles of bourbon on the ground. Mac and Patty Brown's going to be loaded in my whiskey room.
Chris is going to be like, we're going to need to talk about
And
outdoors.
when you talk to him about it, because he's gifted me some really good whiskey and stuff before, but I don't know anything other, like, okay, I've had whiskey and stuff where like it feels like you're drinking like gasoline. That's not good. And then you drink some higher quality stuff and you're like, oh, okay, that goes down smoother.
Yeah.
No, he's got like the whole like sniff test. Well, you want this one if you're gonna do this. You want this one if you're gonna do like one of those sommeliers, except for whiskey.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it's
call that
A wassalalay.
well,
No, it's a dictionary.
possibly. No, I feel like it's something that I grew up with. Like, my friends all like it, so I feel like there's camaraderie behind it.
I agree.
There's camaraderie behind a lot of whiskey.
It can't be anything.
There
But
could be
there's
anything.
a lot of depth and variety in whiskey.
100%.
And you start venturing out into like scotches and all kinds. I mean, it just, and there's lineage behind these.
And now it's even
Brands.
gotten to the point where I'll text my buddies and be like, hey, there's a really good bottle for a really good price. Do you want me to pick it up and I'll ship it up to you? And it's kind of like you got little bourbon cells, if you will, out in the open. So that's cool.
That's something that I really have learned from you over the past couple of years. And I don't know if I ever shared it with you. Obviously not, because I'm telling you right now, but like how like there's a difference between like drinking alcohol for like, I don't know, either you're just going to get drunk or you're just going to party or having a good time. And then there's this entire experience behind it. And you've really, like, I've noticed it with wine. My wife's really into wine and like nice wines, and you're really into bourbon. And like, if you do what you said, it is one of the greatest relationship builders, because you're actually not even drinking that much. What you're doing is you're experiencing it. You're having a whole conversation about what it pairs with and your relationship with it and stuff. And it's like, if you use it responsibly, it's a great tool.
1000%. And still to this day, there's a group of friends, and actually one of the guys that I'm very, very friendly with has since moved down, and we still talk about a bottle of scotch that we shared together on a Labor Day. And we just went through it, and it was a very rare bottle. Actually, I just found out it was supposed to be for when my daughter was born. So
Whoops.
whoops. But
See, that makes for good stories.
right, right. So, you have, but to your point, Mitchell, I think it's excellent, you know, in the fact that you can have camaraderie essentially behind anything. And I think, even working out, like I always hear the people talk about, the workout and stuff like that. And I think that's awesome as, basically a builder of, friendship and, community. And I think that's where, kind of we touched on COVID. I think people lost their sense of community, and that's what really, drove the point home of like, no, 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 this is not going to work.
Right.
We need community. And I get it. There's not going to be everybody that's like, oh, I need 10 friends or I need a community. And I understand that there's going to be more, recluses and night owls and whatever have you. But for me, I think that was the hardest part is, I lost a little bit of a sense of community. But was cool was the innovation behind trying to find community, like doing podcasts and, we would do Zoom happy hours and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
but being down here, entering a new community. So Segway has been incredible. I mean, everybody has been so welcoming and just, from day one right up to now, I think, we find something new to chat about pretty much day in and day out.
Yeah. So did you pretty much just came straight to Strong Side? I think
Correct.
Right out of the rip.
Yeah. My mom had seen I think it was an early advertisement that you did.
Come on down to Fitness Town.
Well, I mean, listen, if there's one thing that's undeniable, Mitchell is very passionate about his craft and very passionate about Strong Side, and that is, there's no denying that. There is, and that comes off in anything that he does regarding Strong Side. So to move forward, my mom saw an ad and she was like, hey, I think you guys would really, you would get along. It seems like you got very similar personalities. You might want to, send them an email and see if there's any positionings. And I think I sent you an email with just an absolutely exuberant, high salary, because that's kind of what I was making up in New Jersey. And
$1 million.
I think I got a reply. Yeah, that's not going to work. Try somewhere else. And I was like, well, hold on now a second. We can talk. I need to land something. But at that point, again, new culture, new beginnings. I had resigned myself to the fact of, this is a long-term play.
Yeah.
There may not be things that work out in the beginning. If you have to work at Target, you have to work at Target. And that's not saying anything negative about Target. That's not where I'm going. If you have to, I guess more where I'm going is if you have to work outside the fitness
better than Walmart.
Yep. I think so. Higher quality. But if you have to work outside the fitness space to support a family, that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
And, Mitchell and I were, I guess, in talks, negotiations, whatever you want to describe it as I was still up in New Jersey. And he offered me the job and I accepted. And then that started a whole, and it's interesting. It's, again, you have to know where you come from to know where you're going.
Yeah.
So I started training with Kerry on Zoom. And I remember in the transition, there were a couple Zooms where we had left our apartment and I was staying at a hotel just in a transition phase, if you will, from home to home.
Down here?
No, up there.
Oh, up there. Okay.
All the training I did with Kerry at the beginning was via Zoom. And I remember we were practicing with a broomstick that I had procured from the housekeeper.
Okay.
Hotel, and going over just lesson plans, how to read lesson plans. And then it really, really helped because
what was the broomstick for?
We were doing, two-phase, we were doing movement. So, and I told her, and I think I was very direct with Mitchell in the beginning, I needed help reaffirming and reestablishing my Olympic-based knowledge. So we were going over different techniques in that regard.
Making sure you're qualified.
Yes.
With a broomstick.
And I'll let you tell that story, but that we'll go there in a second. and still to the, but that's again a sense of community. So Carrie, we had worked, I would say, anywhere from 7 to 8 sessions on Zoom before I even got down here.
Yeah.
And then when I got down here, I was kind of like picking up the lingo, picking up everything. And I don't think it was too much longer after that I was kind of solo dolo and just doing my thing.
Yeah, it was about like 2 weeks.
2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Kind of chomping at the bit.
So how long were you here before you and I first met?
Wait, like officially met?
Yeah,
or
the
unofficially?
official awkward meeting. First off, yes.
Yeah.
When you came in to cancel your membership, and I was like, "Hey, man, heard a lot about you. Sorry, we're meeting at this way."
I came in just aggravated as
Aggravated. I don't know why I have to come down and sign this paper.
Well, you got to remember. I mean, I'm OG. I'm used to dealing directly with Mitchell on everything, and it was a lot more informal. And he's like, "No, you got to go in." I'm like,
I think it was I'd say a good 4 to 6 months before I'd met you.
"Yeah, I came in
Because I think it was in the fall sometime.
He was here, and he introduced us. He's like, I'm Chris, and you told me. He told me. He's like, you're gonna love Chris. Chris is fantastic. Blah blah. And I'm like, I know, but Christina's breathing down my neck. I got to do this. Like my scheduling it sucks. Like she's like,
Just to be clear, he's back now.
oh, I'm back. I never really left.
Heading up the podcast, no less.
But what did I tell you when we so Chris goes, well, what did you say? It's like sucks meeting under these circumstances.
Yeah. Because I mean,
and what was my response? Like, what are you talking about? This is fine, dude. I'll be back.
Yes. Well, you can always, I feel like sometimes in the coaching world, you have to kind of be an excellent reader of body language. So I kind of picked up your body language a little bit.
Which is what? Like Shrek?
No.
Just angry.
I wouldn't
Get
say
out of
angry.
my swamp.
I wouldn't say angry. I would say there are times you're a little bit more cranky than others. but which is fine. Listen, and those are the days that I just kind of, go Matt, go do your thing.
I've toned that down.
Yes.
I've toned that down.
So
I keep it lighthearted.
But 100%. And quite frankly, I don't think since I've been down here, I've had a negative experience with anybody at StrongSide.
I know when Matt has the cranky days when it'll be something like, all right, guys, we want to go like mild sets of 10 on the back squat. We're really just going to focus on form today. And then I look over, Matt's got 405 with a belt. I'm going. And I'm like, whatever, bro. You do you.
Well, that was one of the stories that we have. I think it was actually one of the first times that I coached.
I jump at the bike.
Oh yeah. So the first time we're on the salt bike, and I think it was the warm up.
Was it the warm up?
I think it was the warm up. I think, in baseball we have this term. It's called big league.
No,
big league, the warm up.
It wasn't the warm up. It was the workout because you came over and I was holding on to the back of the seat, trying not to fall over.
It was rounds for time or something like that.
Correct.
And I was like, all right, guys, I'm trying to put on my coaching hat. I'm trying to explain everything from our notes and say, listen, you're probably going to want to ease into this workout, take it nice and easy. And there's always that one person, and there's always that one person in class that basically, gives you the middle finger on everything that you say at the whiteboard.
Yep.
And that day it was Matt Brown. And I think it was our first day of working together. And I was like, all right, you're going to want to ease in. It's a grit, come on, guys, 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10. And then I just see Maddie absolutely tearing ass on the bike where it's, I felt like it was like Chris Farley, motivational speaker. I thought you were going to go through the cinder block wall, and he comes off and I'm coaching and he's like, no, man, you can't let the brain catch up to the legs, or vice versa, something like that.
That's exactly
he tried to put some knowledge on me, the coach. Again, probably didn't know if I was qualified or not. And I was like, okay. So I let it go.
Let me know when it catches up.
so to that point, round 2, my guy is on one knee holding the back of the bike. And I come over to him. I go, I guess the brain caught up to the legs, huh, pal?
Oh, yeah. Oh, it caught up hard.
And he's like, yeah, I'll be fine. So I think that kind of kicked off our relationship a little bit, where, we knew when to be serious with each other, but we also knew when to joke around with each other.
It's a running meme now.
Oh, it's fantastic.
It's a fantastic running meme.
And that's just but that's also too the sense of community that you look for as a coach. I mean, you look to have those interactions where, people will connect with you, whether it's, you know, to be quite frank with you, one of my biggest connections with a guy like Matt Burden is bourbon. We talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
Matt Burden?
Matt Burden loves him a glass of bourbon, and then
I see
you
him
know,
drinking beer.
Well, he loves craft beer.
All right.
IPA.
but I mean, you know, I think any coach, you know, worth their salt, and again, to kind of bring this into, you know, a lot of what we do on behind the scenes is it's not. Yeah, there's a level of what you know and how you know it and how you portray it, but it's also a two-pronged approach. It's how you embed yourselves into people's lives,
Mhm.
and also to how much they know that you really care about them. And I think
Yeah.
it's not about what. And I had a boss up in New Jersey. It's not about what they know. It's about how much you give a shit about them. And I think that that's just stuck with me. And I do truly genuinely care about everybody that comes in, and I want to see everybody better themselves. And I think that's been one of the biggest win. And I would say that's for all the coaches here at Strongside is I do think there's just at their core a level of genuineness.
Yes, 100%. I mean, and if there's something that Mitchell will tell you that I'm very candid, I have no filter. So
You sure?
yeah. So,
Found that out early.
yeah, but like it's very big for me because this is my space. Like when I can leave work, this is what I'm looking forward to.
Mhm.
I want to be in an environment that's, you talk about the camaraderie. Like I've got the friend group, right?
Yep.
Made many, love coming in here, working out with Matt, but the coaching aspect is extremely important. Having that
Correct.
connection and feeling like I'm being talked with rather than being just talked at or talked to. Right?
Yeah, I agree with that. I
And
agree.
and I was a huge fan of yours, like after first few coaching sessions, because of the genuineness that Chris has, right? That you have. It was fantastic.
Well, I think that there is a level, and I would say this to any maybe young coaches listening: you have to find your voice and you have to find your footing. There's going to be no two coaches that are the same. Um, you know, Mitchell and I are not the same. Elizabeth and I are not the same. We have different ways of portraying to the member, and I think what makes, you know, the individual unique is just those differences.
Mhm.
And but I think at the base level, there are, you know, tenets that as a coach you take yourself out of the equation and you want to just see the individual get better. And
Mhm.
if you're in it for yourself, you're not going to be coaching very long.
But I mean, there has to be that level of genuineness behind it to for the member to believe what you're saying.
Correct.
Like, are they saying this because they feel like they should be saying it versus do they actually care what you're
Oh, there
saying?
were
Yeah.
well, that too, and there's also going to be tests along the way. There were
Yeah.
a lot of tests along the way. I mean, I remember days, and I know he'll get a chuckle out of this, where, you know, Mike Shore would undress me at the whiteboard, and quite frankly, I think he told me actually one day, he's like, "Yeah, when you first started, I thought you were shit," and I'm like, "Fair, I'm not gonna."
Thank you, sir.
I would honestly think Michael Shore definitely beats me in the unfiltered
Yes.
category.
If you can win that guy over, though, like
Isn't he great?
like it's a like you should get like a shirt. I mean, you get what I'm saying? Like it's like if he's like because he'll come up to me. I mean, he's an unfiltered guy with me too, and like he'll just come up to me and like of course he speaks his mind about people he doesn't like. But and I'm not saying anything, by the way, anybody listening to this person, Mike Shore, that you don't know, he's a great human.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Him and his wife go here. Believe me, he would be sitting here saying the same thing.
Same
Right.
thing.
But like he'll come up to me and he'll like it's awesome when he gives like the stamp of approval. Like
Right.
he's the customer you want because he's always a little unsatisfied, but he always supports you. He supports you, he loves you, but he's always wanting a little bit more. And you want those people. And he'll come up to me and he'll be like I guess when he got, the Chris stamp of approval or whatever, and he'll be like, he's good because of X, Y, and Z, and he'll give you exactly the feedback that you need, exactly like the critical information. And it's true. And it's
Well, that was just it. I found myself like, I guess, a good nervous, where it was like a nervous where I was like rushing through things and really just, forgetting minor details. And those days happen still to this day, but they were happening more often than not. I guess particularly in his classes. And, it was one of those days where I think I just, totally botched it or something. I don't know, but it was meaningful. It was a little rough to receive in the beginning because you come and keep in mind, like Strongside's, my I've been doing this for 12, 13 years, and I've
Very
seen,
qualified.
I'm very qualified. I think we'll probably end on that story. But I've seen a lot, and I've dealt with so many different individuals, but I feel like if you ever become complacent, that's when you're just kind of treading water.
Yeah.
And I think you need to have customers in all phases, whether it be customers, friends, that kind of, give you a check every now and again. And it's up to you as the individual to either look at it as an attack or as just, hey, I expect better of you.
It's funny that you're using that term, and I get it, because this is a business, and this is a for-profit business. This is not, goodwill here. So there are customers, and us that come in here and pay membership, we are paying customers.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the beautiful thing with this community, because there's a million fitness communities you can choose.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could throw a rock right now and you're going to land on one, right?
Yep.
Literally.
Yeah. Is I don't get treated like a customer. Now, maybe at the business meetings, right? I don't know that, the shareholder meetings, maybe that's the way they would refer to it. I don't know. But
no, it's not.
I know I'm giving you guys shit, but
no, I get it. But to your point though, I think that's one of the things that's instilled in us in the very beginning is customer service.
100%. Well, that's his that's huge. And he's been that way. I won't go down that rabbit hole about, Mitchell coaching every class. There's stories for days we could tell about Mitchell.
Yeah.
But it's always been that way. And
huge connection point. And I think that's where Mitchell and I truly align is customer service. I think at our core, we very much really, really want.
You're probably, I mean, he's a heavy hitter with it. I hate yes people, hate them when if I have somebody on the team, everything I say, are you gonna please disagree with something? Please.
Right.
There's no way. And he's always the first, it's not right for the customer. Whatever, pick up something, whether you, I can't even think of an example, but any example, he's always customer focused.
Well, it keeps them back.
But it's also, and I think that's an excellent point to bring up. It's okay to have disagreements. Between, as long as they're cordial, they're professional. I believe in disagreements because I believe that's the only way you get better. I mean, I can't say that you and I have had a big disagreement, but I wouldn't call it a disagreement, but just moments of.
Was it real or was it me just being a prick? I mean,
possibly the latter.
Okay.
But going back to it, I think disagreements are healthy. As long as you can present the disagreement with and that's one credit that I do give to working here at StrongSide is from Mitchell to Elizabeth to Carrie. I mean, I was a yes man with Carrie. Yes, Carrie, whatever you want.
We all
absolutely.
Yeah, me too.
we all are.
Carrie's really all of our bosses.
Carrie, Carrie holds it. But I think, the disagreement is where you get better as an individual.
Can I tell you a funny Carrie story?
Absolutely.
So I mean, you've been coaching with me for a while now, right? Of course, Mitchell has, and yes, I can be a little obstinate at times. And when I don't feel like doing something, I just don't do it. And, sometimes I may even go rogue and just do my own thing, So I came to a clinic one time we had here. I think it was an Olympic weightlifting clinic. And the coaches were set up in stations, I guess.
Mm.
And
oh yeah, I remember this. It was snatch, clean, jerk. Yeah.
So we were doing the jerk portion, right? And Carrie was heading that up. So I cycled down here and we're going through the things and she gave the movements and she's like, okay, I want everybody to do, 3 split jerks after we went through the whole movements. And I'm over here just doing push jerks. And she's like, Matt, we're doing split jerks. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't do split jerks. I just do push jerks.
Oh boy.
Now, most coaches would just, right, would just be like, all right,
oh boy.
Whatever, man. All right, you do you, buddy. Yeah. She stopped the class. No, we'll wait. You do 3 split jerks. Oh shit.
I'm nervous.
I know. I'm like, oh, yes, ma'am.
So I really don't think, and shout out Carrie Fox, I really don't think I would be the coach I was today, let alone the professional I was today. I mean, we had some really, really great talks. And I think I'll go back to, those Zoom calls where, she was it. Back when I first started, she was the head of programming. She was, I guess, if you want to say kind of pseudo second in command. I mean, Carrie Fox was the standard. And, in my training, you're not trying to be Kerry Fox or Mitchell Black. You're trying to be yourself,
Sure.
but work under the domains and the parameters at which the expectations are set.
Yeah.
And I think that was part of the time when, I was still a little bit nervous, still trying to get my footing, and, the members were still trying to get to trust me a little bit, but I needed to hear feedback because I had never had anybody essentially superior to me. I was always my own boss. I always worked in my own setting, from personal training to small groups, and I needed to hear as a professional, let alone, X's and O's, but management, stuff like that, and where I was going right and where I was going wrong. And I will forever be, I guess, indebted to those lessons, because that's, part of the process.
Sure.
And that goes for I guess any career that one could go into. I mean, you need people to tell you, this is what's up.
You do. You have to have a mentor.
Yeah.
And it's funny when they emerge. I know for myself, I mean, there's many people that I may have met that didn't view them as a mentor at first, but then became one.
Yeah.
The kind of like secretly.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, they just keep saying things that make sense. And I keep finding myself going back to this person to talk to them more because I want to hear more.
That's that's how they emerge. They don't emerge from, will you be my mentor?
Yeah. They don't merge because they have a business card that says mentor. I mean, if you have a business card that says mentor, I'm like,
But for the low price of $99.95 a month, I can.
But I feel like the best mentors are always consistent, though, too.
Yeah.
Like, there's a level of consistency there. Like, even like, I feel like sometimes on my worst days where I can just kind of come here and, just be myself and be, I don't like to call myself a mentor to people, but just be a consistent force and a consistent, presence for our members. And I think that's really important.
you're my mentoring force.
I mean, that is the thing. And
But
I
that's
like
the thing.
what you said about a lot. You're not trying to be somebody else.
I'm not.
And nobody should ever try to do it. You have your guardrails. It's like, okay, class starts on time. What do? You pull them down the whiteboard, you explain the word, you do your whole thing, right? But like, you got to be you. The worst thing you could ever do is try to do somebody else's impersonation of jokes or somebody else's whatever. Like, you got to be you.
That goes to
And
the
it's-
fakeness, right? Not fake.
It does. But I mean,
trying too hard.
I can think of coaches that have been little on the quiet side, like more than I would like, but they were some of the best coaches in the world. Sure. And then you have some coaches that are like really loud. It's like we're all delivering a similar product, which is what you need, but there is a reason. Like, I tried to make that really vocal with the whole team, because I'm like, that whole Mitchell taught all the classes for 7 years. That's not advice, and you shouldn't do that, because that also means that every single member had to like me. There was no other option.
Right.
So like, what if I don't?
And then every single member had to like a new person off of
Yeah.
that. I mean, and that's tough too. That's always a tough transition to where, for OGs and people that have been coached by you, now you're transitioning to growing, which is great, which is what any business wants to do. But there's going to be growing pains.
You're bringing up a good point.
So now you're transitioning from, again, not taking your advice of not being the only person that coaches, but now you have all these people that just know a certain personality. And then when you infuse another personality right off of the bat, it's like, well, he's not Mitchell. He's not Kerry. He's not this.
That was rough.
So that's hard.
Yeah.
And that's probably very intimidating as people walking into a new space, to where that it's going to take time, and I'm not going to deny that, but it's going to be okay if you just be yourself. And again, it goes back to the fact of, you can really win people over, not by trying hard, but just by showing how much you care.
Correct. The genuineness.
Correct.
And
Authenticity.
Yes, 100%. I usually when I have newer coaches, I have a couple things that I love to do just to see reactions that I get. One might be, maybe making jokes, or I'll mess with them a little bit while they're trying to discuss on the whiteboard.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to see how they dial that in. And the ones that either quip back at me, I love that, by the way. Chris is good at it.
Like, yeah, it's good.
Good quips back. I love that. That's fantastic. Another one too is, as people get to coach, and I know this isn't about me. I'm just using me as an example because I know these things, but new coaches that come up and bother me when I'm very, very tired and I'm about to die because people have ever worked out with him.
And by bother, you mean hi, how are you
don't
doing?
talk to me.
Are you okay?
Don't bother me.
What are you doing for Thanksgiving?
I'm a huge baby when it comes to working out. I always feel like I'm going to die. And when I'm in that mode where I'm dying on the floor, I don't want anybody to talk to me. Don't bother me. Go away.
Mhm.
So I look at that as well and how that reacts because some don't get the cues. And I feel bad because I know I've gone too far when I have to apologize after the workout.
Which you always do, which I always appreciate.
I know.
I always appreciate that.
I'm very sorry.
You know,
It's not a level of being sorry, but I think I'll spin it and take it from a coach's perspective to where, you know, especially in our outfit, you know, there is a ton to learn and a ton to do, and there's a ton of expectation in a good way, you know, from notes to, I mean, if you look at it as a coach, and this is a little bit behind the scenes, and this is just where my head goes as one of our coaches on our staff, whether it be Canton Roswell here, you have to learn, you have to know the ins and outs of Olympic movements, CrossFit movements, general strength movements, timing, endurance, all the things. So there's so many different metrics to go by. And I think sometimes, you know, the overall fitness population gets frustrated with newer coaches. Well, you know, I always pose the question, somebody's got to start somewhere. You're not going to be a great coach on day one. And you got to give people a little grace to find their footing and find their voice and find their authenticity. Are they going to be the level of answers that you're looking for probably on day one? Probably not. But I guarantee you, if they keep getting the shot and keep getting the reps, they're going to be good. And good is probably an understatement.
That's where the person shines through.
Right.
Yeah.
There is a level of personality.
Like Sherry.
Sherry was wonderful.
yeah, she's great.
Fantastic.
You loved Sherry.
I love Sherry.
I like Sherry too.
She was fantastic. She would be upfront with you. She's not an Olympic weightlifter.
Yeah.
She did not like huge into the CrossFit scene, like when going to the movement. I didn't care. She just rolled with it, and she was herself 100% of the time. But she was so friendly, so nice,
genuine too.
so genuine. Like JC was another one.
Yeah.
Remember, I was a big fan of hers, like right out of the rip, because from a coaching standpoint of identifying people that have certain characteristics and qualities to bring to the table. You're here with such a large membership group. I don't care if you know the movements.
Dude, I will take that over I know everything, but I don't care, and you should respect me because I know everything.
Right.
Dude, I'll take that. And on that note, I want to give a shout out to Coach Erin. You haven't met Erin yet, but she's one of our new coaches. She's coached over at Roswell. She just started coaching solo, and she was so prepared, and she showed up wildly prepared for her first day to open Roswell and wrote the wrong day's workout on the board and studied the complete wrong day. And the class is calling her out, and I'm like, that's not what's on Wodify, whatever.
That's usually
And she had two options. She could retreat and be like, I'm so sorry, this is terrible, this is whatever. Stop the class, rewrite the whole whiteboard. That's a lot of freaking friction. Or you could just pull an audible. And that's what she did. It was so cool. She goes, it's my first day. I'm already fired before I got started. You know, so she goes, I know you guys know the workout, whatever. Here's what we're going to do. And she pulls it up on Wodify, and like some of the members are joking around, like helping her, like, no, it's, you know, this, or whatever. And they go through the warm up. Second class, she was good to go. But she pulled the class in and made it a human. I'm a human. I'm trying my hardest. I made a mistake. Okay, I learned it. I'm only going to judge you if it like keeps happening. You should make mistakes. I'm so happy that happened on her first day. So we got that out of the way. Now she knows, oh, I toggled the wrong button on the session. Great. Figure that out on my first day. Now all my other classes are going to be set. And I was like, man, that's the mentality we want.
But you want to talk about a connection point. No one's going to forget that.
Yeah.
In a good way. In a good way.
You're right. They won't.
And I think that's super important. I mean, that's how you make, I mean, listen, you're looking for layers. You're looking for connection. You're looking for stronghold as far as your members. So, you know, you and I will joke still probably till the day we die about some of the stuff that we've gone on. I mean, at our core level, we're friends.
There's more coming.
I have no doubt.
You just wait until tonight, baby.
You just wait.
but you know, that as a coach is what. But you know, I think sometimes people, you know, in the fitness space will get very short with new coaches, and I think sometimes it's hard for them because they're trying their absolute best. They are trying so hard, and I mean, some of the things I've seen have been, obviously on one side of the equation versus the other, but I think it's somebody's got to start somewhere.
I will, not to make this all weird, but I will tell you, Chris, thank you.
I appreciate it.
Because this is the flagship. Woodstock is the flagship, right? You have probably the deepest rooted amount of, especially OG members here, right? And there is, from some of us, and I can't speak for all members, but there is this kind of a standard that we come to expect, that comes with the Strong Side brand. And it continues to be upheld here. It is still an environment I love to come to. And I know we've become friends, and I don't want to say that's a bias, but it adds to the fact that I really, me personally, love to be here. And I think a lot of people, the 3 viewers that we have that'll probably comment, maybe, right? I don't know.
Comment below, give us a like and subscribe. Ding, ding.
But I would love to actually hear feedback about that. And I think Chris would really appreciate to hear feedback as well.
I mean, listen, I think everybody's at their core looking for feedback.
Just qualified coaches.
You know what's wild that stands 100% true is I had a member come up to me today and just talk about one of our other coaches, specifically about Stephanie. But like any amount of feedback that I get, I mean, I can't even remember feedback that I've gotten about, this person is such a good, they break down the snatch really well and they're such a good, the movement. Like to me, that's always been the integrity. Like you should just show up and know what you're going to deliver. That's your job as a coach. You should know how to squat. You should not it's a non-starter. You should just do that.
Right.
And it's so, I really can't remember anybody that's ever done that. But the feedback that I get all the time, if it's a complaint and especially if it's positive, it is, man, I just got to tell you, so-and-so is just, I enjoy their class. They're such a great coach. And I always ask why. I love it. That's great. Why? It's always followed by, they say my name, they talk to me, they're just so high energy and they gave me high fives. And it's always things like they had social awareness. Like they knew that I forgot clips. So they got me clips like that. It's just be a nice person.
Yes.
And that's all it is.
That's another thing too. That I was thinking about as far as looking at what the coaches bring to the table. God damn it! I just lost my train of thought right in the middle of it. Holy crap!
We have to put like an R rating on this podcast.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
But it is. Oh, I was thinking it was the floor command, like of having control of the floor and the control of the members. It's fun for me to watch coaches, and it's another thing like me just throwing out curveballs because it's just fun to see how the coach grabs it and throws it back, right? But it's controlling because one thing with Chris. And Stephanie does a good job with this too, is if you're engaged in a conversation, him and I are talking and we're like talking, nothing fitness. We could talk about anything else, but during class, he's watching the clock and he'll just stop and go, all right, 3, 2, 1, let's go. And he will just control the room. And I respect it completely because he'll stop talking to you and then he'll come right back to you.
Yeah.
So anyway, and he'll start going, again. And it's great because he doesn't get pulled away from everybody else.
Well, I mean, again, and I think that's a level of experience that as you go on in your careers, I mean, listen, I always advocate for young coaches because I live by something that I firmly believe is I feel like everybody needs coaching, right on down to the top CEOs in the world. And, I advocate for young coaches because I believe this world needs more of them because I don't even fully believe that they know of the impact that they could potentially have on people right then and there, but also down the road. But I think a lot of times it's just getting repetition and understanding. And something that I really think about, and it was instilled in me in the very beginning, is lesson planned aside, structure aside, is what I try and do is I try and account for everybody that's going to be in my class and all movement all the time. And I know that sounds very, very tough to understand, but I'm kind of playing out different scenarios, almost like an audible in football in a sense. I'm playing out different scenarios of, okay, well, for example, what happens if Mitchell is training somebody to the side and he needs a squat rack and I'm down a squat rack and I have to go here, or, I have 4 new people walk in. What am I going to do if that? And I think the more and more as a young coach or, somebody coming up in a fitness space, the more and more you can plan for the unexpected. Now, you're not going to plan for everything. We know this, but the more and more you can think about some of these just crazy audibles. And I'm not, again, trying to say get wrapped up in it, but also have a game plan. That way, when something does happen, i.e. you write the wrong workout, you're ready to
that's
go.
a level of critical thinking that some people struggle with and others don't.
It's hard,
but
it is
understanding and breaking down what it means to be proactive. I mean, you're trying to eliminate as many surprises as you can,
Correct.
right? And be ready, because you're never going to be. It's kind of like driving down the road in traffic.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's obsessive like me when driving, but I mean, I usually have about like 2 or 3 escape plans of like what happens if the Final Destination movie, it starts happening in front of me, log trucks are rolling and I'm like, I'm going to do this and then do that. I mean, it never pans out like you want it to, but I got a plan. I have a plan in case it happens. Right.
Yeah.
But it's the same scenario and you can never plan for everything, but just having one. But if you come in with that rigid structure, like you just talked about that, coach, rigid structure, and then all of a sudden you get pulled away and you have to deviate from it and you just get roadblocked. Like, I don't know where to go.
You just need to know what's the most important thing. Like, what cannot, always focus on what cannot change. Yeah. Don't focus on what cannot change. The class can start on time, needs to end on time. You start basically, if it's a 20-minute AMRAP, as long as you start the workout 40 minutes into class, you're good. Right. And like focus on and then what will not change. And then you can figure out all that other stuff.
Fill in the gaps.
And fun and safe.
So should we talk about this qualified story?
Yeah, there has to be a last story though.
I know.
We're getting close. I
know.
I have to go do the very thing that we're talking about, which is coach.
So what this is, and I want to preface this too. I was joking.
I know, but it's fun to break your chops a little bit.
Funny.
You talk about the quips going back and forth. But it is fun to break your chops.
I came in early one day, and I was having a problem with my shoulder, like I always do. And I asked Chris if he could floss my shoulder. Okay, because you remember you used to do this for me all the time.
Yeah, and what that is for all the people is it's like you take this like compression band and you wrap it around the shoulder and it constricts blood flow. It has nothing to do with dental floss.
No, it's just like a giant rubber band. Yep. And he would wrap it around the shoulder or knee, elbow, anything. And
you get the blood out so you can increase the range of motion and move it. And then it takes away some of the like tissue and compressions.
But I said that and you were like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
No.
And so I was like, all right, well, it's bothering me. And I think, did you bring up the gun or did I bring up the gun?
I think I did.
About massage gun.
Yeah. I forgot the trigger point gun or the massage gun. And I made a comment. I'm like, all right, well, or do you know what that is and can you use it?
Yeah.
Is where that started from, being a smartass.
Yeah. And this is not to be braggadocious, but keep in mind, I have multiple degrees. I have a master's degree.
Gave me your entire resume. Well,
which I don't think you knew at the time, which I think it served a purpose.
I did not. But it was great though.
I did get this on Amazon though. I mean,
yeah. I did stay at a holiday.
Right. He gave me his entire resume and I'm like, I was just kidding, Chris. I'm like,
wow, you are qualified.
So now this is becoming yet another meme of ours and coming in the gym. Everything's about, are you qualified to do that?
Qualification.
I think I'm qualified to do this.
Qualification.
And that's where that comes from. If you ever hear us saying it.
Yeah. Well, this was fun. I enjoyed this.
I will end this with one thing you did do, with that massage gun. He found the spot that was bothering me, and then he stayed on it as hard as he could for like 5 minutes. And that's how he got back at me.
That's what they teach you in your master's degree. You just get on it.
It hurt so bad.
Yeah. But it felt so good afterwards.
But no, this was fantastic. I like this, and, Mitchell and I were talking about, getting this sparked up to keep the podcast. Let's roll.
Yeah.
I like the fireside kind of chat format.
Yeah.
And
keep it going.
Bringing on and getting to know more of the community. And
I'm happy.
First,
I'm happy. I'm honored to be the first guest, and I'm honored to also be on episode 100.
Yeah.
100.
Which is really cool. That's really cool. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, dude.
Pleasure.
Boom. All right, that's it, my friends. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
Happy
Thanksgiving,
Thanksgiving.
y'all.
This doesn't air till December, but